and I've enjoyed listening to the industry perspective talks. So I'm going to be talking about some of our research, which hasn't really been focused towards wind turbine blades, but I have noticed in recent years that we're starting to sort of get some of this stuff out of the cupboard again and doing something a bit more relevant to your industry. But if I can just sort of start by giving a background and history to natural fibres and where they sit in terms of composites. Nothing's new under the sun, and a lot of this work's been done for, you could argue, thousands of years. But in more recent history, I guess we all sort of turn to perhaps people like De Bruyne, who was a fellow at the University of Cambridge and helped develop this material called Gordon aerolite, which we used during the war in Spitfires, a natural fibre composite, and it had some really quite sort of impressive mechanical properties in terms of the stiffness and strength, and with respect to the weight of the material as well. So here's some impressive materials here compared to other materials, and this was really done at a time when we were lacking the supply chains during the war to using oil-based materials, so they were turning more to, and things like glass were in short supply. So we're turning to things like natural fibres for that reason. In a similar sense, Henry Ford developed what's thought to be the first industrial natural fibre composite, the hemp soybean oil composite. Here's a picture of Henry Ford taking a hammer to the back boot panel, which is made from this hemp soybean composite. Actually, it wasn't Ford that developed it. It's often forgotten in the history that it was actually George Washington Carver, who was actually born into slavery, and he was asked it. He was even begged for a letter in the record showing Henry Ford begging him to come to the laboratories to help him develop this soybean-based fibre composite. It's not actually clear whether Carver developed the resin or whether he was developing fibres. But he certainly had a big hand to play in the history of this, and is often forgotten. The Trabant vehicle, which was used widely in Eastern Europe, particularly in East Germany, it had a steel monocoque design, but most parts of the body were made from a material called Duraplast, which was a plastic reinforced with cotton and wool, and it's a very lightweight car and excellent fuel efficiency for those reasons. And of course, we have later models of cars using flax reinforced panels, particularly the Mercedes A200, but there are other examples of that too. I will talk about wind turbine blades in a short while, but I just wanted to sort of focus there on the development of automotive, because it's obviously made quite big inroads into that sector, and I think there might be quite a lot to learn from that sector in terms of how it's developed. So why would we want to use natural fibres? Well, plants sequester carbon dioxide from the Earth's atmosphere. It's carbon capture.